conservative auditor like me. Why did I decide to run? I have never run for anything before in my whole life. I didn't even run for like class president in high school or student council in college or anything. I literally have never had my name on a ballot before. But what I do like is I like public service. I've served our country in many, many capacities, as you know. Chief of Staff of the Waco investigation. I served our country as Chief of Staff to 3 United Nations ambassadors, Jack Danforth, Ann Patterson, and John Bolton. John Bolton put me in charge of UN management reform, so I did a lot of effort to root out corruption, fraud, and waste at the United Nations. President Bush appointed me Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, or what is effectively the Deputy Director of the Law Enforcement Division of the State Department, where I ran an office of 4,000 people in 80 countries with $2.5 billion budget devoted to police training, anti-narcotics, anti-corruption, rule of law programs. I traveled to 30 countries around the world, including Afghanistan, Pakistan, Guatemala, China, Russia, Japan, all in the name of serving the people of the United States because the President asked me to do that. I have a wife and son here, Kathy and Thomas. Can you stand up for a second? See? When I told them that, oh, I'm heading off to Afghanistan tomorrow, they weren't that thrilled, but they understood that public service is a calling, and when the President asks you to do something, you do it. And they learned with me how important it is to serve your country, and I did that. Then finally, President Bush appointed me as coordinator for counter-narcotics and justice reform in Afghanistan, where my job was to go to Afghanistan and help them build the rule of law, help them fight the drug trade there, and he gave me the personal rank of ambassador as my final appointment. So I have been dedicated to public service for many years as a prosecutor, as a law enforcement official, as a person who conducts audits, as an ambassador, and as a person who simply loves his country and wants to serve. So all of that was federal service, though, and yet I'm a Missourian. I'm a 5th generation Missourian. My great-great-great-grandfather, I think, came here in 1848, opened the Julius S. Schweich furniture store right across the street here. We've been Missourians ever since. I have in-laws who are in Joplin, in Moberly, in Brunswick, Missouri. My mother-in-law is here from Brunswick, Missouri. I love this state. I've always been from this state. I've left the state only to serve when I was asked to serve, but I've never served the state of Missouri or the people of Missouri. And that's what I have the opportunity to do now. As you know, and I'm sure you read about, when I came back from Afghanistan and then came back from Washington to St. Louis, a lot of very prominent Missouri Republicans said, you know, you need to serve your state. And originally they talked to me about serving in the United States Senate. And I went around the state and I looked into it. I had a lot of support and encouragement for running for the U.S. Senate. But I also said from day one that I would not run for Senate if I would be divisive, if I would lower the chance of a Republican getting the office, if I would cause a problem for my party. And what I realized was, while I might be a good Senate candidate, it would be a bloody primary between me and Roy Blunt. I didn't want that. Roy Blunt came over to my house. We talked about it. He addressed some of the concerns I raised about him in a very honorable way. And I realized that the best thing to do would be to step aside from the Senate race and look for something else. Well, I didn't need to look very far, because when I traveled around the state, many people said, Tom, look, you've got investigative experience, prosecutorial experience, audit experience. You are tailor-made for this state auditor's job. Private sector people, elected officials, who I think some of whom will soon be endorsing me, said, this is the job for you. We've never had a guy better qualified to root out fraud, waste, abuse, and corruption in Missouri government and stand up for the taxpayer. You ought to run for this office. So I looked around, I talked to a lot of people, and this is what I decided to do. I want to support Missouri, I want to continue my public service, and I've got the right resume for it. Which is the last thing I wanted to talk to you all about, why I'll do a good job. First of all, you all know I'm a financial hawk, I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm not trying to sell any books here, but a lot of you have the book, Crash Proof Your Life, which I wrote. It's on Amazon, but I'm not trying to sell it. I wrote the book Crash Proof Your Life in 2002. Now this is 2002, when people were spending and borrowing, the government was, individuals were. I was advocating financial conservatism before anybody else was doing it. You can read the book. I was saying people need to live within their means. Municipalities need to live within their means. States need to live within their means. And the federal government also needs to live within its means. I was advocating this when it wasn't fashionable to do it, when people weren't talking about it very much. You have a guy here who's qualified, number one, because I am the ultimate financial hawk and fiscal conservative, and I will look out for your money.